Welcome, people of the World Wide Web, and it's the weekend, so it's another movie review. And what have I got for you this week? Yep, it's Mr. John Wick on his fourth outing. So, people that don't know, I'll try and keep the first little bit spoiler free, but obviously, if you haven't seen 1, 2, or 3, it could possibly give stuff away. But anyway, this is John Wick. He is basically excommunicato from his clan, cartel, whatever you want to call him, from the table, I think. And basically, he wants to get out, but he can't. And due to kind of a few sets of events that start to work themselves out in the beginning of the film, he finds a way that he can possibly get out. It basically results in a duel between him and the representative from the house, so the representative from the higher ups. They send this person after him. I think the Frenchman. It was the bloke who played it in the latest ones, the Skarsgård brother. And so he's basically out to get John Wick and eradicate him, and John Wick obviously finds this kind of loophole through various means, and then basically they have to have a duel. They have a duel at the end, and by the by, not giving anything much away there. I did like this film. I will say very loosely now. Now, if you are a John Wick fan, you love the first three, I'm pretty sure you'll be damn chuffed with this one. Obviously, it is almost 3 hours long, so not that it really feels like it. I mean, to be honest, watching it, I was like, looking at my watch, right, get rid of this. It was definitely a good watch. Personally, myself, I was hoping a little bit more evolution of the character, or a different avenue, rather than the kind of it's everybody versus John Wick. And in this one, it is. They throw a few other bits in there, and how the film ends and where they possibly want to go with it. It's possibly laying the groundwork for that, because like franchises nowadays, just I did like it. I did think it was it was an alright movie. I'll rate it now. So I'm rated 6 out of 10. So definitely worth a watch, and it has there are some really good scenes and stuff in there. The only reason why it's not as probably higher up, it's not that I'm not a John Wick fan. I really liked 1 and I really liked 3. To me, they brought a different perspective and different kind of an evolution of the character. 2 and 4, I didn't think did that as much. But as I said, if you've got to this point, if you love the John Wick films, I don't think you would be disappointed in the slightest. If you thought they were alright, like me, there's certain ones you watch, it's a really enjoyable film. It's not like it's rubbish. I say there are some really good bits. There are, the director of this has come up with some newer ideas, and some of them I think are really, really good. And for a 3-hour film. But anyway, so at this point, let's put the spoiler review up. Boom, hopefully there for you. And let's get into it. So obviously people that know or don't know, or hopefully you've watched the other films. So this starts off and basically the concierge, so the place where John Wick used to go, that has they get written off. The main guy, Shane, I can't remember his name. I only remember it as Lovejoy from UK people there. Obviously, him and his assistant Lance, they go to this new guy who's been brought in, the Skarsgård, one of Skarsgård's brothers. And then basically, he says, like, that's it. You haven't really got a job anymore. You communicated. Shoots Lance. Lance dies. So, literally, first 20 minutes, Lance is out of it, which is quite shocking, obviously because of Lance's passing in real life. I don't know if the way they have handled his character and the short screen time is because of maybe he had health issues in real life that we don't know about. And, it's down to his family, and if he wants to keep his life personal, or the family want to keep his life personal, that's fine. I would have liked a more nobler way of him going out, because it is kind of it is very quick. I would have liked to see more in the film, but as I say, maybe he had health issues or stuff that he couldn't film a lot, and that's just how it is. So it's by the by. Yeah, so they get that. They blow up the building at the concierge, and then all hell starts to break loose. Obviously, he's really gunning for John Wick, and then they start calling out all these like assassins. So Kane is the guy who approaches. He was a member, a bit like John Wick. I think he's kind of a head assassin. No, obviously John Wick seems to know all the head assassins because they've all been friends for years and stuff. Kane is still kind of tied to him because of his daughter and his daughter's safety. That's played by Donnie Yen. He's blind. So it reminds me a little bit much of the character from Rogue One. But doesn't find his stride until a lot later in the movie for this. So yeah, he gets targeted to go out there. John, he goes to Osaka, so there is a building like the American one there. He goes to Osaka. Unfortunately, Osaka gets raided. His contact there dies, and you meet his daughter, Akita, I think her name is. I think they're building up to something in that. She was quite good, but you only got to see her for a few minutes, or probably about 20 minutes of the film. I mean, there was some good fighting, and this was kind of the first big major fight. Now, all the people from the table, or the representatives from the table that have come to enforce it, they're either in full body armor gear, which was quite nice, like Shogun, like face masks and mask gear. So it took John a while to take quite a few of these out. And then the bouncers who are in like suits, they all have like the Kevlar suits that he had in there. And this, it was quite good at the first sort of thing. I mean, I like the arm. I like how he had to work with it. There was different weapons involved. He's having to do tackles and grabs and stuff like this. Obviously, Donnie comes in and he's using certain methods to help with his hearing. And this all did start to work, but it felt like a John Wick film. He's taking, people are taken out, people are getting injured and stuff like this, and everything starts to flow. Unfortunately, this kind of them Kevlar suits and stuff, it happened quite, because obviously it's 3 hours film. I would say quite a lot of it keeps happening up, and I started to get a little bit fed up of like everybody's just like blah, but he has to tackle them, and he kind of went through the same sort of motions. I would say for at least the first half of the film. Obviously John survived this, gets away, obviously meets with Lovejoy, and this is where he finds out that he can basically rejoin his family. And if he rejoins his family, so I think they were the Russians or Slavians, he will basically then he can get them to represent him, and then he can do the pistol duel, and then he can get his own freedom. So then he goes to that, and this time you have this other character with a dog. He's called Mr. Nobody, and he's kind of tracking him. He has this notebook, and he seems to know a lot about. There's not much explained about his character. I did like the character. I did thought he was quite good. You can see he's kind of doing it for money, but you don't really know why. But his character and his dog, and that was really obviously John Wick kind of has a dog kind of centralised in it at some point somewhere. So that I did quite like his character, even though you weren't quite sure whose side he was on and what his reasons were. So anyway, so John goes back to his home. He then, his family agree that he will join the family if they find the head of the person that killed, I think it's Uncle Victor or something, who John goes looking for. This is played by Scott Adkins. He's in a big fat suit, and this is one of the bits that his character was really good. Like, he's in a fat suit, they're playing cards, and then like there's a fight in a dance club and all this stuff. Granted, there's a fight in a dance club, people are dying left, right, and centre. The dancers are like, oh my god, they're fighting. Someone gets killed, and then like, I'll carry on dancing again. I'm like, obviously this must be the normal for them, but anyway, Scott Adkins in the suit doing some roundhouse kicks, and that was really good. He's kind of reminded me a little bit of Kingpin, even though he had a little bit of comedy, and I really liked his character. In all fairness, I would have liked him to be a little bit longer, and this is where, for me, it showed some evolution, because you had these other bigger characters who were more audience friendly, and you could have built so much more on them. I know, obviously, John Wick is Baba Yaga, no one really lives to tell the tale once seeing him, kind of. But for me, this is where you meeting all these characters and they're interesting and it's working well. And I would have liked them to kind of split off, like, not be John Wick versus everyone else. Let's have a few into fractions and stuff, like, you know, there is like the house, the table, but there are other factions that he's playing against. People are out for themselves, you know, and more people are joining up with John to do this bit here and this bit there. Not, it's just everybody versus John Wick, because that's literally what it then comes down to. The last hour, it's like, obviously he gets his he gets his person's head, or he kills him, Scott Adkins' character, and then he goes back to his family. He gets a burnt mark on his arm to say he is, and then he gets the vote, and then like brilliant, and then they do like these cards to turn over to decide what they're doing. It's a pistol duel in Paris, and it's like at this big monastery, and it's pretty bad CG. I mean, to be honest, because it is, I know they had like the Eiffel Tower and that, and they have a few scenes that are really, really nice, but for me, I'm like, because it is John Wick, you could have done it in not such a, you could have done it in a smaller building, but have like the monuments in the background like they did earlier on. I thought that would have played so much better. But anyway, there's like this cathedral, and this is where they have to have it, and he has to get there for 12. Now, obviously, because he has to get there, the bloke who he is against, supposed to have the duel, he basically can choose a representative. So he has Kane fighting him, so a blind man and John Wick doing a pistol duel. I know what you're thinking. Anyway, and then basically he puts a massive bounty out for John Wick, and then every man and their dog is trying to stop him from getting to this cathedral by 12. So for like, I think it's like an hour, he has like an hour or something, and this whole hour he just is fighting. He gets hit by multiple cars, bicycles, he gets punched, knocked downstairs. I mean, and this is where it is you go through the same, like, people using Kevlar and him fighting, and then he gets to like, you've got to climb these like 200 odd steps, because they've got a radio DJ who's announcing all like the hits and where he is and that, and he gets to most of these top of stairs, and then they knock him down, and it's very comical how he rolls down one set of stairs, and then there's like probably like a 3 or 4 meter flat area, he still rolls and carry on, and I'm like, that you wouldn't roll like that. You would go down one set of steps and then you would hit it. And yes, I know this is more or less fiction, but these were the bits that are just like, I'm just fed up of it. I really would have wished like John would have been like, right, I need to go through this district. Now the people in this district are from this gang, but I have a friend from a rival gang. Let's get him to help me fight these people to get through this section. Right, I get through this section. Now I have a friend who's against the table from like my homeland. Let's get 3 or 4 of them to help me laying down suppression fire and stuff like this. And it would have been nice, just it's not literally just one person against everyone. And I mean, I say he falls out like a 2 or 3 story window, and I say he gets hit by cars and that. Like, in any which realm, he's not Superman. Like, and even to the point he only has a few minutes to run up these 200 steps when he gets knocked down after fighting a load of them anyway, and he still manages to do it. And I was just like, I know it's far-fetched, but I don't know. When it's far-fetched but with a little bit of realism, I think I relate to it more. And especially more because, I say, for the John Wick films, we've had 3 of these. And that was one thing too. I just get fed up of just killing everybody in kind of the normal sense way. But so anyway, he makes it to the stairs. They have the duel. It ends kind of in his favour, and then they kind of close it off like they're gonna end the series. But as I say with people, I'm not going to say how the duel ends. It involves a lot of characters, because obviously you have representatives and stuff. My one rule for any film, and I learnt this because I almost made the mistake in Scream: if you don't see the body, then don't confirm they're dead. It was the one rule I remove in movies. Maybe I spoil this for myself, but I say, if you never see a dead body, then as far as I'm concerned, they are still alive. That's my get-go. So yeah, so that's how it was. As I say, as I rated in the video earlier, I rated it 6 out of 10. I say I liked the character of Kane. He come more into his own later in the movie. Like, I liked Scott Adkins' character, and I liked like Mr. Nobody. Now these characters I feel could have been done a lot better. And before he gets to the steps, I probably didn't play this. So because of with the Kevlar armor, I was really hoping earlier on they would give him better weapons, you know, not necessarily James Bond, but just something a bit different, how he can handle stuff and that, because he does like fight scenes at the beginning with nunchucks and that, and I didn't think they were as good as they could be. But he has to go through like this big restored house, and it seems that a lot of the bad guys have these kind of flare guns. So it's a gun that shoots, but then it bursts into flames. So the director has this scene where it's a bird's eye view and he goes through this house taking out all these people. And that scene was absolutely stunning. It kind of reminds me of like Daredevil and stuff, where it's almost one camera following and having all these fights. And you know, I was like, hats off to it. That was a brilliant fight, because he kind of brought a new element to it, like the camera, and the idea of the whole fight was from a bird's eye view, but then you have this kind of new weapon, and with it, John's nicking guns, and because you know he's quicker than most other people and he can disarm people, and then with this gun it's only 1 or 2 shots and they're down, and that was cool. I was like, that even if you had the Kevlar on, you more or less get shot with one of those and you're either 3rd degree burns and shock and you're dead anyway. And I would have liked to have seen a bit more of that. I mean, Lawrence Fishburne's character comes in and out of it, and I would have liked, like, John, actually, you know, we've got this armory here, I've got these newer bullets and stuff like this, which he does get kind of a gun, but I was like, just something new that we haven't seen, and that scene was really good. I would have liked a bit more of it, just a bit, and I say, and evolving these characters that they kind of help John, but they're helping it for their own reasons. But that's just me. Obviously this is going to say, that's my view. I'm sure a lot of John Wick fans will probably be upset that I haven't rated it higher. Say it was a good film. I will buy it. I will add it to the list. I have, like, you know, where they go from 4. I don't know. I know there's a spin-off that will feature Keanu Reeves. It's Anna, the girl from Knives Out, and James Bond film. So it's kind of a ballerina or something like that, and she's a spin-off. Whether that'll be any good, we shall see. But anyway, I hope you've stayed along. I know it was a longer video than normal. Hope you enjoyed the review of John Wick 4. I've been Cypher Sigma, and I'll see you in the next one.